across to our guest, Prime Minister's pictures that are coming in as the inauguration ceremony. What is now being said as far as 5G is concerned, that will account for more than a third of the total connections in India by 2030, with the share of 2G and 3G dwindling to less than 10%. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Pragati Maidan, what is being said as India's biggest ever auction of telecom spectrum that was recently held, and the government, what is being said, has also given a target of 80% coverage of 5G telecom services in the country in a short time frame. Addressing an industry event in the national capital where the 5G journey, what is being said, will be going to be a very exciting one, and has also noted that many of the countries have taken multiple years to reach 40% to 50% coverage, but India here is targeting at a very aggressive timeline, and the government, what is being said, has given a target of 80% coverage in a very short time frame, and we should definitely cover at least 80% in a short time. Now, what is the experts' point of view here, saying that the 5G technology will benefit India greatly and will also benefit the Indian economy by 36.4 trillion rupees, now around $455 billion between the year 2023 to 2040. And 5G will also account for more than a third of total connections in India by 2030 itself. So the Prime Minister there is also now taking into account how this technology works and what will be the potential and the benefit, if you can also help us understand, Kanishk, that it will be providing as an upgrade to Indian technology. Kanishk.
So 5G will transform the way we've been communicating so far. We already have 100 plus smart cities which have been launched. So elements like your telemedicine, environmental safety, taking care of issues such as smart connectivity, that's going to change. There will be heavy use of Internet of Things, mobility, connected cars. That is going to be a major change.
Absolutely. But Parv, what is your point of view here? Of course, Kanishk is laying down exactly what it will lead to. But more importantly, also to ask the question, Parv, will 5G plans be even more expensive? The other question also arises is, when it comes to 5G, is the cost?
Yeah. So when it comes to 5G ASPs, the operators in the country are already facing crunch on the monetary side. So there has been talks of already increasing the prices. But I think with 5G coming into picture, they can charge a bit of premium on the existing 4G plans. So from a monetary side, there is a still upside to these 5G networks. If we look from a global perspective, many of the operators globally initially might have given discounts or freebies while launching these networks, but in a longer term, I think India will also see the higher ASPs with 5G.
Right. Kanishk, with 5G connectivity, will majority of the smartphones support this kind of technology?
Yes. If we see the new mobile handsets which are coming in India, majority of them are 5G enabled today, right? And even if you look at the smart bands which have come out, you've got fitness bands which are there. All of them have 5G connectivity, so I don't think so integrating 5G will be a problem from a handset manufacturer perspective.
All right, but Parv, when it comes to, supporting such kind of technology, will it also require a special sort of a SIM card? Because, to support 5G, keeping in mind that the best phone already has the support for all of the 12 major 5G bands.
Yeah. So from a device perspective, if we look, we forecast somewhere around 35% of the market to support 5G on the devices side. But regarding the band support, initially the band support was a little bit on the lower side, but now most of the bands, since the spectrum has been launched, will support the sub 6 and we believe that after 2024, 2025, we will see the millimeter wave support also coming into the smartphone side.
Right. Kanishk, 5G is also said to be the next generation of mobile internet. What does it promise other than faster speeds and lower latency speeds?
So I think it will offer seamless connectivity, integration of other devices. So if you've got AC, you've got a gate, all of that could be opened, integrated through better connectivity. While these services existed, but bandwidth, latency, connectivity was a major issue. So it will allow connected cars, it will allow you to have connected homes. So internet will be used as a means to control various other non-IT devices. That is going to be a major shift. The other thing is that people so far have been hell-bent on using broadband connectivity for better services. 5G will change it. So it's going to be anytime, anywhere internet which people can access. So that's going to be a major shift. Plus, if you look at the 4G spectrum was accessible in certain parts of the country. The 5G, the way government is transforming, it will be available not only in urban areas but also rural areas, as per the model which the Prime Minister has proposed, or the model which the Department of Telecom has proposed.
All right, so there are a lot of benefits there, especially noting, Parv, if you can tell us, because India's high level of 4G adoption, what is being said that has almost crossed over 70%. Does it indicate that the subscriber base is ready to transition to 5G now?
So you're right, the 4G subscription penetration is really high. So at least all the smartphone users currently on 4G can easily transform into 5G. But if we look not just from a consumer perspective, it opens up a wide range of applications. If we look into enterprise with private LTE 5G networks, if we talk from a broadband penetration, which currently India is very low at. India ranks somewhere around 138th globally when it comes to fixed broadband. So with 5G we can offer the wireless fiber, which is basically the fixed wireless access plans. So those can also help to connect the unconnected people which currently don't have any connectivity or basically just rely on their mobile data plans.
So it seems that the Prime Minister is getting some in-hand experience there exactly with the technology and how it works there with the inauguration event that is at Pragati Maidan. But let me go back to Kanishk for a better understanding, because what are the estimates, Kanishk, when it comes to the sectors that will be also benefiting from 5G technology, like manufacturing or retail or even agriculture?
So if you go to retail sector, it will be transformed, because instead of you going and buying stuff, a lot of the technology will enable you to, if you pick up any consumer good, it will allow you to make payments remotely, not go to a cash counter. We saw some of this, Amazon launched some of these services. So you will require greater connectivity. If you look at healthcare sector is going to benefit a lot. Today, the doctor to patient ratio in India is really skewed, but through telemedicine we can transform, because doctors will not require to go to the patient. Through 5G services, telemedicine could be enabled and people can use smart devices to talk to doctors and also share what their problems are. So telemedicine is going to change in a big manner. We have already seen that smart cars are coming up, hybrid cars are coming up. We've seen a launch of EV vehicles, right? So mobility in automotive sector is going to be a huge transformation, specifically cars. You should look at new cars that are coming up. They are trying to create those setup that these cars could be connected to 5G systems, right? So your navigation, your advisory while you're traveling, that is going to be a major shift. Also, how the car is functioning. Can you remotely switch on, switch off the car? Can you look at the efficiency of the car? The carbon emission, how you track that is going to be easily be monitored through 5G, because you will have IoT based sensors which will be connected. So it will allow greater governance. It will also allow better management of resources which is going to be there. If you look at electricity operations, how electricity needs to be supplied, that will also transform, because IoT enabled systems will allow to know that if there is going to be any kind of heavy rainfall in specific areas, so you could cut off electricity through smart devices, or you could safeguard the systems. That's going to be a big shift if we look at today from a transformation by using 5G services.
All right. So with that, the Prime Minister also rolling out, especially when it comes to this big upgrade there. But Parv, what exactly is in the government's point of view here? Targeting a very aggressive timeline, and the government has been saying that the target would be to cover at least 80% in a very short time frame. What does it mean?
Yeah, so India already is a bit delayed on deploying 5G. So if you look the initial rollouts, those were around 2019. So by 2022, like we started the auction, and then it's already on a later side. But India has successfully auctioned almost all the bands, the mid band, the low band, and the high band. So with on the connectivity side, players like Jio, Airtel, which are already are working on their infrastructure for 5G. So with lower bands, the penetration of 5G can be increased very quickly, almost as like of 4G. And with the non-standalone architecture, which basically utilizes the 4G core, so with that it can easily deploy. Although Airtel will use the non-standalone networks, since Jio being majorly dependent on 4G, they can start deploying 5G standalone, which means that they don't require 4G networks initially for their deployment of 5G. But on the overall penetration perspective, initially I think it's still limited to a few metro cities. But once the wider rollout is enabled with these lower bands, I think we will have pan-India connectivity faster.
Absolutely. So that is the aim, isn't it, Kanishk? Because what happens with the big telecom giants there, how exactly they will be also demonstrating the full potential of 5G services?
No, that is going to be a big advantage to Reliance Jio, because they won't have to deploy 4G and then enable 5G. They can straight away allow 5G services. Remember, there have been issues with respect to latency, choking of bandwidth of 4G networks for some of the other players. So if Reliance is able to roll out 5G today in places where 4G is not available, they will have a competitive advantage compared to some of the other telecom players in the market. So they will be able to provide better telephony services and even data services. Today, Reliance has captured the data market in a big way. So Reliance market would specifically around emerging technologies such as use of cloud, use of artificial intelligence, machine learning for providing services, even retail services, right? That is going to be a huge advantage to Reliance.
Right. But Parv, if you can expand on that, because what is being said that 5G services just not should be limited just to an elite few, and it should rather be made available for all. Does it mean when it comes to the 5G rates, it could be more affordable?
From a connectivity perspective, if you look, it's not just the basic consumers. From a data perspective, that would be benefited. But if you look in a larger picture, 5G will enable use cases which were not there earlier. So if we talk about telemedicines, so basically a doctor can sit far away and manage a patient that is basically in a remote area, and can in the real time check either the ultrasounds or the other tests that can be done remotely. So that enables a whole new wider set of applications. If we talk about education, so there are these AR, VR, the augmented reality based use cases, so in which you can train your students easily. So necessarily you don't mean that you have to provide physical equipments to the schools, but they can learn remotely all the latest new things. But in a longer term, from a revenue perspective, definitely it will. Everyone is looking to get economic benefits out of it. So from a consumer point of view, India already has been one of the lower ARPU markets. So even if the ASPs are on a little bit higher side, but in a longer time, we'll see that we'll continue to see some of the lower tier continue to use the similar 5G plans that are available currently for 4G.
Right. But Kanishk, looking at even when it comes to the biggest ever auction that has taken place, how exactly and fast would be the rollout? I mean, which would be the cities who would be getting it first?
So I think tier 1 cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, New Delhi, Chennai, Kolkata, these would be the first adopters of 5G, followed by cities like Pune, Hyderabad. Those are going to be the next adopters. We've already seen in Bangalore that specific setup were created for 5G, where Vodafone earlier set up a small environment for 5G services in a specific part of the city as a pilot. Once 5G is rolled out in these services, these cities will get maximum benefit in terms of using 5G services, and users will be able to subscribe to 5G at a very fast pace. But we also have to look at 5G has greater enablement when it comes to the rural part of India, because that's where the next growth is required. If you look at today, a lot of ITS companies which require internet services are moving away from tier 1 towns to tier 2 and tier 3 towns. And for them to enable to set up rural BPOs, rural KPOs or rural offshore development centers, bandwidth and connectivity is a major challenge. Once you have bandwidth and connectivity, then it is about skills, right? Skills could be enabled through education. So India, which is today a $200 billion market for software exports, will hugely benefit from 5G rural connectivity, which will be there in tier 3 towns, and it will allow education to happen. It will create more jobs, it will create more employment opportunities, because India is already a destination for software exports. So there will be a huge benefit for Indian economy perspective.
Right, but we are talking about especially when it comes to the benefit that the Indian economy will be getting but in layman terms, if you can help us understand, especially when it comes to downloading full length high quality videos or movies to a mobile device in a matter of seconds, I mean, how fast would it be?
So yeah, so with 5G, I think the peak download speeds you can achieve is like 20 gigabits per second. So in comparison to current LTE, we have like LTE can reach as far as 1 gigabit per second. But on a realistic level, if you look currently, the types of speed that we get on 4G is somewhere around 20, 30 or even closer to 100 megabits per second. So with 5G, these can reach up to 700, 800 megabits and even gigabit level speeds, which are increasingly higher than their counterparts if you look at either DSL or VDSL or cable networks. So in terms of downloading, I think you can watch movie in a real time without buffering. If we just look at it from a download perspective, I think it would be much better than 4G. But I think download is not the only thing that we should look at. I think it enables a lower latency side of applications, which will enable a wider gamut of things like let's say cloud PCs, cloud gaming, education, AR, VR. So those kind of applications will have much wider reach than just the download aspect of 5G.
Kanish, does it mean that we just have to do away with the network not there kind of image, or that circle, the buffering thing that used to happen? I mean, everything is going to go away. With that also become history, because India is also aiming to beat China and US when it comes to launching advanced 5G network.
No, absolutely, that is going to change. Connectivity will enable that buffering time will go away, and people will get seamless connectivity of internet. So today you will not have to subscribe to a cable for getting good internet connectivity. Your mobile phone would have the best internet connectivity. So it will be a huge advantage. If you are traveling, then getting internet at good quality speed will enable people to subscribe to digital services, which will not just be movies, but it will enable greater growth of e-commerce. We see hyper commerce being launched in India, where Blinkit talking about 10-minute delivery. So tomorrow, if you are traveling in a train and you don't want to eat food from the train, you can order food from your phone, and there would be services which could be enabled to pick up food from the next station. All of this requires greater connectivity so far, which has been a challenge.
I mean, where there are
also
mostly network doesn't seem to be there.
Absolutely.
Or remote corners, it's a very weak or poor network. It will reach to that advanced stage, Kanishk.
No, absolutely, it will reach to that advanced stage. So tomorrow, children who are there in villages need not go to towns for taking education. Tele-education, which is going to be a huge focus area, you will require good connectivity. All you require is good screens where people can be trained remotely. So it takes away that load on having teachers in villages. All you need is smart devices, and education can be taken to rural part of India. So that is going to be a huge advantage specifically for taking 5G services. My colleague has already pointed about telemedicine, but the other benefit is also going to be using smart devices. So if you look at rural agriculture, there will be heavy use of IoT based systems for enabling better enablement of crop or for tracking any kind of issues which comes to agriculture. So smart devices would be used for predicting rainfall. That will also be used for finding out how much of water you need to give to the crop. So it will enable better efficiency, management of crop, also taking care of how much pesticides needs to be put. And we already have some companies working in this space, but connectivity has been the major issue when it comes to rural growth. So that will change once 5G comes out.
Absolutely. And has that changed with the onset of the pandemic, Par? Because everything shifted online. And, beginning with such kind of technology, because we are already looking at so many advantages, are there really any challenges to also be prepared when it comes to a 5G network and its launch? What are the challenges really?
Yeah, with onset of pandemic, I think cellular networks have been holding the bandwidth, and they act as a economic support to the economy. But from the challenges perspective, if we look, still a wider connectivity that we have on the base station side is still not connected with the fiber backhaul. So increasing the fiber backhaul is at most very necessary to channel all these higher bandwidths that would be required for 5G. On top of it, I think developing a faster deployment towards, I think, in the rural areas, so that it's not just the metros which get the total benefit. The benefit is equally distributed towards these rural areas which have been, I think, lagging on a digital transformation. So as my colleague really mentioned, that telemedicines, agriculture, and even other use cases. So these are only possible if all those technologies are brought into that villages and the tier 2, tier 3 cities at affordable prices. And the key metrics that we need to look into is like how that connectivity will be used in all these areas.
Absolutely. So, Kanishk, even when it comes to, advancing in such kind of a technology, which we have already looking at other countries already having. So, there has been a certain delay. But how to overcome that delay? Because most of the telecom operators also that are present are deploying versions of 5G in non-standalone 5G, which essentially means when it comes to a 5G radio signal delivered over an existing 4G infrastructure. So, what does it mean, Kanishk?
It means that the country will have to be better prepared for rolling out 5G. You will have to have resilient mechanism. Remember, when 5G was rolled out in US, they had to cut out airports. They had to delay flight operations because they believe that 5G will interfere with the movement of the radio emissions which are there for flight operations, right? So a lot of flights got cancelled in countries like US, Canada. When we have to launch 5G in India, specifically metros, we will have to take care that how do you ensure flight operations don't get disrupted, or 5G connectivity does not disrupt some of the existing services which are running on a different frequency. So that is a key parameter that India will have to keep in mind. The other part is going to be coming up with infrastructure for rollout of 5G. We already know that there are large telecom players who share telecom towers. Now, how do you ensure that 5G connectivity, once it is set up, does not only provide benefit to one major telecom service provider but also to others? So setting up that infrastructure, having those smart devices is going to be very, very important. And then you also require the entire ecosystem. So there are already companies which are partnered with Reliance or Airtel or Vodafone for rollout of 5G. But how do you roll out it in phases so that the existing providers of 4G services or 3G services do not get impacted? It should not happen that we are rolling out 5G and we cut out 4G operations or 3G operations while deployment of 5G. That is going to be a major concern so far, which we have seen, that when you move to a new latency, new bandwidth, lot of time existing bandwidths get impacted because the deployment has not been done, keeping in mind the business continuity or the resilience that is required for rollout of new operations.
Minister, they're getting an on-hand experience of the same exactly when it comes to such another change, and this is an upgrade that India has been looking forward to because when it comes to the consumer market, Parv, in India is huge. I mean, every person in the country would be owning or having a mobile handset. And with the use of 5G technology, do you believe that it will also unleash many of those economic opportunities and societal benefits as well? I mean, having a huge population just like as India.
Yeah, so with 5G, I think, as I mentioned before, for consumers, I think it brings a lot newer activities, and on the application side, not just from download data speeds, we can use the services like remote cloud services, which can offer either gaming or education or even medicine, telemedicine. So the learning experiences, the normal retail that we are using, like buying from digital stores, so that can be much more experienced much more in a better way. Let's say if we have a with virtual reality, so we can easily see like the product in a virtual reality, and we can even try it out and then see like how it fits or how the experience is. So that will also enhance the retail as well. So you can buy and try I think clothes, shoes directly from home, and the experience would be much more better. And on top of it, I think it can be delivered with the wider reach of the connecting retails.
Right, Kanesh, you wanted to add something to that, especially when it comes to also giving it the potential of being transformational force for the Indian society.
Absolutely. So with 5G, you will see huge implication of rollout of metaverse. If you look at Reliance Jio today, it has investments from Facebook. It has got Facebook plus other, which is now called Meta. It has also got investments from Microsoft. And we are looking at use of emerging technologies such as crypto, NFT. So imagine you are there and you want to try any kind of clothes. So you won't have to go to the store. In the metaverse, you can go to the store of that particular company, which could be a Nike or a Reebok, because these companies have already set up their virtual stores, and you will try these clothes and you will then order this online. So it takes away that entire physical experience. In the metaverse, you can imagine and see things using augmented reality, virtual reality. So it will allow growth of retail and the consumer goods segment, because people will not go to any stores to try new clothes which they order or any goods they want to buy. They can use it in the metaverse. If you look at gaming segment, that will hugely benefit, because gamers will get a better experience.
I'm just going to just describe the pictures coming in right now. I'm just interrupting you. Apologies for that. But the Prime Minister is actually getting a live demo exactly when it comes to the 5G capability. So I'm just going to speak a little bit on it, especially when it comes to the Pragati Maidan venue where this event is being held, because he's been given 5G capabilities demo as well. What is being said that the 5G technology will be rolling out in 13 cities first. That includes Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Bengaluru, Chandigarh, Gurugram, Hyderabad, Lucknow, Pune, Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, and even Jamnagar. And the capabilities now, what is being said of the 5G technology, that the Prime Minister is getting a first-hand experience, because it is not just about accessing fast internet on your phone. 5G also brings along several of those enterprises, especially when it comes to the role in disaster alert technology. That will also be holding a big potential for the government, as well as areas such as disaster management, agriculture, where the Prime Minister has also got a demo on how 5G will be used in disaster management and ensuring that there are faster alerts also that are available. So such is the kind of the use of technology that will also upgrade India's technology version, because 5G also brings across several enterprises to the users and also holds a big potential for the government as well as in agriculture area. Disaster management is something that we spoke about, but also ensuring that there are faster alerts. So Parv, can you highlight more on that?
Yeah, so if you talk about like disaster management, so 5G includes the non-terrestrial networks. So that basically means that you can use satellites and the other modes of communication which are mostly not available during a pandemic or a disaster situation. So you can use satellite-based technology along with the ground networks to set up emergency networks that are available throughout a disaster. So that will enable better connectivity, because whenever a disaster hits, so it's the communication that goes down, and with communication I think the whole infrastructure stops. So 5G will also enable a kind of a backbone with these non-terrestrial networks, which will eventually be deployed using that 5G standalone networks.
Right. Let